Welcome to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge, the podcast where Christine says fear, questions everything, and takes bold action. Christine Spratley is a former professional boxer, nanny, and 29-plus year corporate warrior turned founder of HBIC Advisors, where she is a public speaker and coach. She's been saying fear her whole life, many times without even realizing it. So tune in, spread the word, and get ready, because this isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell.
Hello, ladies, tubs, gentlemen, and everybody in between. Welcome to Fuck Fear with myself, Christine Spratley, living like an HBIC. And this is going to be a short one today, but it's a shorty but goodie. Today, when you're listening to this, will be Friday, March 7th. And that means that Saturday, March 8th, is going to be International Women's Day. That's badass. And leading up to that day, I thought I would give you a little something to think about as you walk into your Saturday. And a little bit about kind of where this came from in International Women, and again, fact check me all you want. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. But what I have is, it started kind of both in the U.S., but also around the world. And it really started, going all the way back to like 1908, the U.S. Women's March. About 1,500 women marched in New York City for fair wages and voting rights. And and again, go way, way back, you'll see women protest throughout. But 1910, there's the International Socialist Women's Conference in Copenhagen, calling for an annual Women's Day. And again, everybody's going to pick up on socialist. Maybe if I say it like 5 times, it'll show up on somebody's feed.
You'll get shadow banned if you say it too many times.
Yeah. But again, people were talking, women were talking, women were again, looking for these things. And I know it started before the 1900s, but that's as far back as I went. So 1911, the first international celebration, Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland held rallies for women's rights. So I know us in the U.S. think we're pretty badass, and we are, but there were some things going around the world because this is International Women's Day. And so it's not just about our piece of the pie. It's about everybody. And I say that because that's your tribe, ladies. It's not just here. It's not just people that look like us, that talk like us. It's women across the world. And I think that's really awesome. 1917, and this I didn't know, but the Russian women protested. And if you know what's going on in the 1917, there in Russia, that took some balls. I know it may sound crazy, but they protested. It's the famous Bread and Peace protest, and it led to the abdication of Nicholas II, and they gained the right to vote out of that. And it's just amazing when you start looking at. And it's really amazing to me to see the power we have as we go through things, not just here, but if we tap into the greater power, that's pretty awesome. So where did this come from and why am I doing it? That's the history, and we'll get all into that. But I was talking to some friends of mine who, and some just people in general about, hey, what are you doing for International Women's Day? Are you doing anything? What's going on? And as you see, I've got red lipstick on, so that's a shout out. Look up Elizabeth Arden, red lipstick. Russians wore it. Russian females wore it. Our comrades, American fighters wore it in World War II. It's a sign of protest, and it also makes us look really badass. So go grab you some lipstick and wear it tomorrow. But as I was talking about it with some different people and just bringing it up in casual conversations, because if you haven't figured out by now, I talk a lot. even to strangers. And so I found out that some people weren't doing anything and wasn't even on their minds. And so I, of course, was like, oh, that's okay, but that's our day. And some of the people that I was talking to were really upset with what's going on in the U.S. towards women and DEI and things like that. And I was like, well, but this is a day to celebrate that. If there's ever a day to go do some of this stuff, this is our day to go march or go do something. And there's so I was like, okay, Christine, what are you doing? And I've started looking for events and things like that. And I'm going to attend some events, but there was an event in Florida called, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's the Coral Gables March for women. And it's a rally march, it's a protest march down there. And I started talking to some of the people that were thinking about going. And unfortunately, I'm not going to drive to Miami tomorrow. I'm not going to do that. But I thought, well, what can I do here? And what can you do? All right. If you don't want to attend a march, you don't want to do all that, what can you do? Well, first, there's tons of things. But first of all, think about women in history. Know our history. I think that's a big one for me. I mean, I need to know this. And so I went through and I started looking, and I was amazed at some of the queens, like the African queens, warriors, military leaders throughout multiple countries, not just Africa, but throughout history that were leaders. The Nanny of the Maroons is 17th century Jamaican warrior queen who fought British enslavements. There's a ton of these, and Queen Amina, and just how she ran her kingdom and things like that. So go start looking at the history, and this dates back centuries. I mean, we could go back all the way. Way before that sort of, to BC and before Christ and all of that, and look at some of these women that were defeating emperors, that were teachers of kings, of philosophers, and if I'm going to get this wrong, but I can't remember the name, and I should know this, especially if I'm talking about it, but I don't. So I'm not going to let that bother me. I will look it up and get back to you. But I believe it was Socrates or Seneca's teacher was a female, so it's amazing. And I started digging into this, and I just thought, wouldn't that be great conversation to have with your daughters, with your sons, with your husbands, with your brothers, with your, husbands, with your wives, to talk about, the women of the hidden figures, the women of science and math and technology that have just made such an amazing contribution to our society. The first leprosy treatment, Augusta Ball did that. Didn't know that. I mean, seriously, that's kind of important. The first computer programmer, it's my understanding, is Ada Lovelace. And they were actually denied their credit. That's what's crazy. And this is why it's a little bit hard to find some of the women that were, putting things into motion. And because they were told, no, this isn't worth it. It's not good. Your work's not good. And then men, and I'm not bashing men, it's just what happens. History took their shit and ran with it. And then they had to fight years and years to get it back and to get their name on things. Henrietta Lacks, I don't know if you don't know about this, but the HeLa cells, her stolen cells. I mean, she was, that led to amazing medical advancements, but it was based off of the stealing from a woman. And I think there's a lot of things here that we could talk about. even not even that. Think about your home security. Um, Marie Van Brittan Brown, invented the home security system. Didn't know that. I didn't know that. The GPS technology, the math behind the GPS technology, Dr. Gladys West. It's just, then we go into like NASA, I mean, those people are doing things way beyond my comprehension. And the Black women mathematicians who helped put men onto the moon. And again, there are
That's
movies.
a great movie. Did you see that movie?
Oh my God,
Yeah,
great movie.
I like that one.
Great movie. I love it I love her speech when she's like, when Kevin Costner is like, "Where were you?"
Yeah, yelling at her for
Where
going to
were
the bathroom.
you? And she's like, and women, if you have not seen that movie, couple things on that. If you have not seen that movie, see it. Okay? And I want to call out something. White women, watch that movie. And you think how hard it is for us to walk into the rooms of corporate? Okay? Think about sisters that don't look like us. I mean, seriously, that's our white privilege. And I'll call it out, okay? But to me, privilege is I don't have to worry about it, okay? And I just look at that movie, but I look at even now today, and I won't go a side tangent on here, but I've talked to a friend of mine who's a PhD, and she's Black, and we talk about the things that I don't have to worry about. And I just think so don't forget our sisters, and just because I don't worry about it doesn't mean they don't worry about it. That's a privilege not to worry about things. But yeah, amazing movie. And there's all of this, the DNA double helix structure. And Rosalind Franklin, she was 1920 to 1958. And of course, I've got notes because I'm bad with numbers. But so yes, if you see me looking, that's what I'm doing. But discovered in the DNA's, double helix structure, and all of that led to talk about politics, law. The women that were doing that. And there's a woman, and I'm going to mess up her name, the Empress Dowager Cixi, and I could be wrong with that, but it's Cixi. She was in China.
I think it's pronounced sexy.
Sexy?
No, it sounds...
How apropos.
Now I don't know if I just said a really dumb thing because you're about to say what she did, so I hope.
No, but she was one of the most powerful rulers in Chinese history. I didn't know. There's all of these women doing, even Margaret Thatcher, the first female prime minister of the UK. And if you ever go back through history, especially during that time frame, and you watch, she actually did some amazing maneuvering. And I haven't liked all of her politics, but she maneuvered with the boys, and she outmaneuvered the boys in a lot of ways. Indira Gandhi, it just, again, just amazing. I mean, and then in the United States, I mean, think about all of the women here that are doing and working with the rule of law, that are, even Geraldine Ferraro, and I remember that because I was young then, and that was a big deal. And so just think that through. And there's ways, now we all know about Rosa Parks. But there was actually a teen mother that Claudette Colvin, Colvin, who had refused to give up her seat on a bus before Rosa Parks, but didn't, she, and again, it just, they're here. the people that have gone before us are here. The people that are doing it now are here. We just have to look for them to celebrate. The first Black woman to win Olympic gold in the high jump, Allison Coachman. Wilma Rudolph comes without saying. Obviously Serena Williams, which I loved her. And what's funny is I really love Venus. That's my heart, is one of my heroes is Venus Williams. But I love Serena doing the crip walk on national TV. That was pretty badass. FloJo, just amazing women, strong women. And it comes with all different looks and countries and attitudes, and some did it with different flair and different style. Some did it with, there's even, and I don't know because she's from Canada, so I'm going to screw up the French last name, but she was the first woman to play in an NHL hockey game. And Joe, if you can look her up and pronounce it, I'll let you take a shot at it.
I'm really bad at that, but I'll try.
Manon. And again, Andrea Laramie, where are you when I need you to help me speak French? But again, think about this. We have these wealth of women that have gone before us or are doing it now. And what they're doing, healthcare and medicine and social work. Obviously Florence Nightingale, Clara Barton, there's amazing women. Dr. Elizabeth Backwell. And if anybody wants this list, I've got it. Email me at csprattley@hbicadvisors.com and I'll email it to you. And have at it. Have these conversations. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why it's so amazing to me. So, what can you do? I mean, think about the women that we could talk about, from our poetry and art and things that they've given us, let alone the activists and revolutionaries who, Soldier in Truth, and obviously Harriet Tubman, but just all of that. And I celebrate that when I celebrate International Women's Day. How can I pass up a day to not do something, to not have a conversation, to not dig a little bit deeper? And it may not be at a rally, it may not be at an actual celebration, but this is what I talk about putting this in my life so it's not just a day. I mean, these are facts that I can bring up in a conversation anywhere. Hey, did you know? I didn't know this. Hey, by the way, I didn't know this.
From a farm kid to college, nanny to pro boxer to boardrooms, Christine Spratley has lived a life that defies convention. Whether she's talking about fuck fear, doing this scared is still doing it, or beating the boys club, their game, our rules, your style. She delivers sharp wit, real talk, and a fearless approach to leadership, success, and personal growth. After hearing Christine, your audience will have a plan and unapologetically run until apprehended toward their fulfillment. Book her now at christinespratley.com.
One of the things that I've started to do to celebrate women is change my my daily interactions and how I talk. An example of this is when I see a young girl, I was down at Atlantic Beach last weekend, and I just took some time for the weekend and went down with a friend of mine, and she and I were having breakfast at the Banks Grill. Best breakfast sausage ever. And the ladies there and the owner are amazing. And there was this little girl, and she got up, and she was walking out with her dad and her family, and she has big curly hair, kind of, not real big, but just curly hair. And she had some pink stuff on, and she just had, she had a unicorn, I think, on her shirt. And typically in the past, I would say, "Oh, you're so pretty," and do that. And I choose to use my words different. "Oh, you're smart. You look so smart. You look so strong. Tell me about how creative you are. I like your outfit. And what's interesting is that, and I've noticed this, when I say something like, especially if it's a man and his daughter standing there, and I say, oh, you look so smart and strong, or, oh, that, whatever. Because strength, that's the thing, is pink is okay to wear, and you can be strong in that, and it's changing how we look at what they'll do typically is they will almost push her out there, and they're like proud. I mean, it's like for men, it's like when you say somebody's strong, they're like, yeah, that's my kid, and it's like they go, oh yeah. And it's really interesting to have that. So have those kind of conversations. Try it out tomorrow when you see someone and you use the words and they're more than just pretty. Yeah, they're pretty, but why are they pretty? Because they're strong. They're conveying who they are. I know this may seem crazy, but if I'm doing it at the coffee shop and I'm talking to my spouse or my friends or my enemies for that matter, whomever, and I weave the things into the conversation that I want to grow, then I've normalized it. Then it's there. Then it's planted. It's a seed. And so plant as many seeds as you can on International Women's Day. Wear your lipstick. Get your guy to wear the lipstick. I mean, seriously, have some fun with it. But do something to celebrate it. It's a day for us. Don't let it pass without celebrating it somehow. Maya Angelou talks about, there's this clip of her that I saw on Instagram, and she's giving this interview, and she talks about when she speaks or when she teaches, and she says that she brings everybody into what she does. Everybody that's gone before her that she's learned about and learned from or heard or read and I thought about that when I thought about this. When I don't know my history as a woman, when I don't have my tribe that has gone before me or is rising up beneath me, the age group rising underneath me that's coming up, I've learned so much from them. Then I just show up. I not only go alone, but I show up alone. I show up with my limited knowledge and my limited truth. So what's really amazing, though, is if you look, and if I look, not you can do whatever you want to with this podcast, but when I look, I don't show up alone. I say this in my mugshot crew all the time. We may go alone, but we never show up alone. We bring all of this. And why not? Why not celebrate that? Why not give that? What a better conversation than to have with your son, and say, by the way, did you know this? This is cool. Do you ever think that? Wow, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't have to dominate the conversation, but just put it in there. But if I don't know the history, I can't have the conversation. If I don't know about the women in Russia or Denmark or wherever and what they're doing, I can't have that conversation, but I also can't draw from that strength. I can't draw from that history. If I shut out the women that are younger than me because they haven't gone through what I've gone through, then I miss what they're going through. I miss that. So just really think about how much fun we can have with this day tomorrow. What are you going to do? I mean, it is our day to talk about us. And again, big or small, but celebrate it. Because if I don't celebrate it, then I can't bitch about if anybody else doesn't celebrate it. If I don't change my language, how do I have the right to bitch about you changing yours? I always talk about as being an HBIC, I need to clean up what's on my side of the street. And believe you me, there's a lot of shit on my side of the street. And I'm not perfect. But I got to clean up my side of the street. And I have to plant the seeds for the garden that I want to grow. Nobody else can do that. Okay? I need to do that. And here's a whole day where we can do that. And one thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'll let it go, but I'm going to talk about the ERA. As we're on the International Women's Day, I'm going to talk about the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment. And I'm not sure if you know, many may know that are listening to this podcast, many may not know, but it remains unratified. It is not part of our Constitution. We have the states, but we didn't make that number until it was past the time limit, which if you look back through, I think it's probably, and I could be mistaken, but it's probably, if not the only amendment that had a time limit on it. And I could be wrong, so call me out if I'm wrong. But it's one of the few. And you need to get a certain amount of states. I think it's 38, not sure. But we didn't do that in time. So we got the number, but it's not in time. So it remains unratified. No big deal, right? Like, no big deal. Everybody's all for equal rights. We don't have to worry about that. But they're not constitutionally guaranteed. Okay? It's not a constitutional guarantee. The other thing, not just equal pay protections, pregnancy discrimination protections. Reproductive rights, all right. It's still state law now, or not it's still, but it is now state law. There's no federal guarantee. And again, that's opening up a can of worms, but that's led to a lot of other things, it's not just abortion, it's reproductive rights. And every woman, we're talking about a reproductive system here. Okay? It's not just about abortion. Because our reproductive system is so complicated in our bodies. Protection against gender-based violence. You know, removing the ability to sue attackers in federal court. And I know people are going to go way off and go, oh, well, what about trans and all that? Oh, I said the T word, trans. I'm just saying in general. Doesn't protect, not there. You know, workplace equality and sexual harassment protection. Again, applies to only 15, environments with 15 plus employees, excluding many workers. But feel free to look it up. And I may be wrong on some of those numbers, but it's not part of our Constitution. So what I want to ask you with regard to this is, how confident are we that they're going to do right by us? They, society, men, women, and everybody in between. And if it's not a big deal, then why isn't it done? Why isn't it done? If everybody agrees on this, then why isn't it done? So I bring that up just to put some thought into your head. Because what I've found is the women that listen to my podcast really think about shit. We dig a little bit deeper because this is our life and we want to be fulfilled. So tomorrow, as you're going through your day, it's your day. Put on your lipstick, celebrate it, find something to celebrate, and talk about it. Talk about it with anybody and everybody. Learn something new. You know, Find something new. Send me an email, send me a stat, post something, teach me something I don't know, correct something I misspoke on. Hell, tell me I'm wrong. I'm okay with that. But do something with it. Because again, if I don't do it, then how do I have the balls to tell you to do it? So tomorrow, I'm celebrating, I'm talking, and I'm going to have a lot of fun. And I'm going to learn more. Okay, ladies, we had concluded my session on International Women's Day, but at the end of it, Joe found something. And so we're gonna add on a little bit. So this is a thing I think you guys could do and make it fun for the whole family. Everybody's got access to a phone. Everybody can use chat or Google or any AI system they want. But why don't you go through and find out who can come up with the most accomplishments, achievements, inventions, whatever that women did, but were stolen? Is that the right word you want to say?
Yeah,
or not attributed, given the credit for it? Whether they stole it or just, oh, my bad, oops. And go in and see who can come up with the most throughout the day, or 10 minutes, or to dinner, or on the drive to practice, or on the drive to, if you're my brother, on the drive to a hockey tournament across Iowa somewhere, or I think they're actually going to KC this weekend. So on this drive, see who can find out the most of events, inventions, something that women did that they didn't get credit for. And then we later found out, called bullshit on, it belonged to abroad. Okay? And where this came up from is I got off we quit recording and Joe said, you tell them what you found. And I'll go through it, but
I was just looking at other stuff that women had created essentially and came across the story of Monopoly. So apparently Monopoly was invented by a woman named Maggie in the early, 1904.
Elizabeth Maggie.
And it was called the Landlord's Game. And it had two different modes of playing it, and it was designed in an effort to show people the dangers of a monopoly.
Yes.
One was supposed to be focus more on equity and not having the slums, and then the other version was
was Monopoly as we know it today.
Capitalist monopoly. And so digging in a little bit, turns out Charles Darrow basically bought the rights for it for $500 and then said he was the creator of it. and
let me, because I'm going to go in a little bit deeper, but I thought that was really credible. So that's where this game that we play, it's one-sided, because originally what she did, Elizabeth Maggie, her game was created in 1903, and it was based off and inspired by Henry George's idea on land ownership and inequality, okay? And the game was patented in 1904, published in 1906. It was designed to teach people, as Joe said, about the evils of monopolies, okay? Again, like Joe said, two sets of rules, where monopolies crush people and another where wealth is shared. And she did a self-published in 1906. So that spreads out, right? And then Charles Darrow comes along and he claims the game in Monopoly in 1932. Okay. He was an unemployed salesman during the Great Depression. And I'm not bashing him. So don't anybody descendants of him come stomping on my shit. I don't think I've reached that far out, but just in case, just back off. I'm just telling you, that's what he did. He learned of the version through acquaintances in 1932 and then created his own version, renamed it Monopoly, and sold it to Parker Brothers in 1935. Okay? Now, I know where everybody's going with this. Well, he reclaimed it, he renamed it, and blah, blah, blah. All right, that's fine. But we all know in music, when you sample, you pay, right? She didn't get paid, all right? So Parker Brothers was founded in 1883, buys Monopoly in the game under Darrow, in 1935. And it's really amazing because they originally rejected it. And then again, the popularity of it, which I think is kind of like it plays on, the crushing of people. I mean, Monopoly is a pretty vicious game when we want to play it. And the whole purpose is just screw your neighbor over. But it kind of talks to me about, like, I'm not saying social media is bad because obviously I'm a podcast, so it can't be bad. But you know how we scroll and it feeds. If we get into the logarithms, and it kind of tells us what we feed off of, But because it was so popular, they were like, okay, game on. So Parker Brothers realized that her patent was still valid. That's the only reason why she got credit, or not even credit, but they bought her patent basically for $500 in 1936. No royalties, no credit. She came out and was like, wait a minute, that's bullshit. But then again, nobody paid attention to her. She's a crazy woman, a crazy smart woman. And I think, again, it's really interesting how women presented both sides in the game, in the original game. But it was looked at, and only one was presented to the mass market. One, because I think it made a lot of money. But two, it was just one-sided, which was, crush your soul and steal your housing. I don't know if that represents anywhere. But I just think this is funny because, again, look at this. I mean, who has not played Monopoly, Joe?
Yeah, I love playing Monopoly.
So do I. But again, where do we know? I grew up on a farm, and so we always used to say to people, do you know where your dinner's coming from? Look, do you know where your dinner's coming from? Where your games come from? Who really came up with these ideas? So again, women, men, everybody in between, take tomorrow and play the game of, how many people, how many women can you find? How many inventions can you find? And who has the most? And just give a little props to that. But I thought it'd be a great road trip game. So anybody out there, I'd love to hear who wins. And I'd love to compile a list. I'm sure we could definitely get one because and I'll give you a couple. Joe, you found a couple, didn't you, that you thought were pretty funny?
Oh, yes. So if you're looking for a list of things that women came up with that were largely credit taken from them.
I'm just going to tell you, if you're listening to this podcast, you can use these. Like, they count. You can cheat. Okay.
So you got the computer algorithm. That was Ada Lovelace. Double
Talked
helix,
about her earlier.
with that. Circular saw. Men should be bowing to this woman. How to brew beer. Ancient Mesopotamian.
Brew beer.
Women.
Come on.
Kevlar. Bulletproof vests.
Thank you.
Life raft. The theory of nuclear fission.
Yeah, we need that.
Manhattan Project contributions. They were just overlooked. Submarine telescope and lamp. What else here? First home solar heating system. A car heater.
Anybody up north right now should be thanking women for this.
The car muffler.
The muffler.
And the syringe.
Yeah.
Disposable diapers, disposable coffee filters.
It's amazing.
It goes on and on.
And again, this is where I just want to add on, and I'll leave it be. But don't tell me we don't impact. Come on. We do. We are in the fabric of everyday life. And we're going to continue to be. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't plant the seeds, if we don't raise our voices, when it's our day to, if we don't educate, and sometimes I like to say education is me sitting down and having a discussion with you, and other days it's me smacking you upside the head going, what the fuck? Okay? Whatever education style you're using, that's effective. But if I don't have this conversation, Joe, with you, and we do this podcast, I don't learn about Monopoly. I don't learn about, I'm an alcoholic and I love beer, and it wasn't a man who did that. And I just think that's pretty awesome. So ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between, celebrate it. Celebrate it, have fun with it, and I want to know who wins. All right? Tubbs.
Thanks for tuning in to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell her what topics you want to hear, and share this episode with someone who could use a pantry full of boldness in their life. Remember, life isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell. So show up, take action, and keep saying fear.